Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to City of Confidence TV. And today we have a very special guest from overseas, the six-time world champion, Ray Sefo. And most importantly, he's an amazing friend of mine that I haven't seen for ages. So Ray, welcome! So exciting. I haven't seen you, but the digital age is just amazing. I get to talk to you, see you in person. Right. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Yeah, my God. So we were talking the other day. How long has it been? 11 years?
Yeah, something like that.
My God. So last time you came to Japan was, you told me 5 years ago?
Yeah, I was in Nagoya. One of my fighters was fighting in Nagoya.
What was his name? Do you remember?
It's Lee Colville. He fought in the Hoos Cup, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, you're legendary worldwide, but just as a recap for maybe people that haven't seen any of your fights, could you please remind us who you are and what do you do now? What have you been? And just a really quick, brief career of what you've been doing. Please.
Who am I? Well, I'm a former K1 fighter. I had won 6 world titles throughout my career. I've been inducted into the USA Hall of Fame, the International Martial Arts Hall of Fame, and the Masters Hall of Fame. Outside of that, I started, myself and partners started a company, which is PFL, Professional Fighters League, back in 2012. And here we are. So
time flies.
Hopefully I can inspire somebody to continue their journey.
I'm sure. I remember when I went to see your fight, I remember we used to walk down the street right after the fight. And I think I could not do 10 meters without having a massive crowd around, literally asking me to be the photographer or signing things. It was insane. And that was you told me, I don't know what happens. It's years after my fight, but it's still you created this myth in Japan even and worldwide. So this is kind of the reason why I hope that, a lot of entrepreneurs also in Japan will be inspired, as this whole show will be also translated in Japanese, which I'm very excited about. But
nice.
You keep inspiring people. So thank you so much for explaining your background, because I think a lot of, when I first met you, I didn't actually know who you were. I remember you had this... when my friend introduced to me, you were like, I had hard time sitting next to you. I'm like, oh my God. I don't know if you were smiling or no, but it was really memorable. So the first time when you actually came to Japan, what brought you to Japan? I suppose it was a fight?
Yeah, I was a young fighter who watched K1 over the years. And I remember, I fought Andre Menard for his world title. I was the challenger, and Scott Coker and a few other people were there, and they started talking about K1 and whatnot, and that was where I should be. And I think a year and a half to 2 years later, I was sitting in the Osaka Dome on ringside, and watching the likes of Peter Edge, Ernesto Hoos, Andy Hogue, Mike Bernardo, Jerome Labana, all these guys, the legendary fighters, get introduced. And, to be honest, I was sitting there and I had these goosebumps because I just knew I was going to become one of these guys. And yet that was the dream 2 years prior.
Yeah.
And now I'm about to become one of these guys. So that was my first, initial visit to Japan. Was that one, I had a meeting with Kancho Ishii, and two, I was getting introduced to what K1 was, and it was just truly amazing. And when I was sitting there, and then all the fighters were getting introduced into the stadium, into the arena, like from each corner of the arena, like it was back in the gladiator days. I mean, you know, I felt like a giant already because, you know, just the atmosphere was amazing. And of course, the Japanese fans are unbelievable, the best fans in the world. And so, yeah, so that was my first trip there. And then the rest was history. I continued to be with K1 for, I want to say, at least 12, 13 years.
Wow. But like, do you actually remember? I mean, maybe, you know, it's a little bit looking back at your career and how you started, but how did you actually start to want to be a fighter?
Well, that's the funny thing. I never wanted to be a fighter.
Really?
I had trained my dad, you know, come from a boxing background. My family, cousins, uncles, all boxed. And so, I trained, my dad gave me my first boxing gloves when I was 5 years old. And so I was sparring my cousins and older brothers and cousins and, you know, friends I was 5 and they were like 6, 7, 8 years old. And so that was my first introduction to martial arts, if you will, or boxing. And then at the age of 7, my dad rented a Bruce Lee movie and a Jackie Chan movie, which completely blew my mind because I'm like, why am I learning just to use my hands when I could use my head, my elbows, my knees, my kicks? So there's so much things that that I was watching for the first time, and every part of their bodies, you know, they were using it in terms of what the action was at the time. And so I was completely blown away. And at the age of 12, while I was at school, I was a milk boy. I delivered, you know, I worked for this milk delivery company. And so the truck would drive down the street and I would run, pick up empty bottles and drop off full bottles, you know. That's how I was able to pay my Kung Fu lessons. And Kung Fu was my first martial arts, which was Wing Chun. And I did Wing Chun for 6 years, and then I had to switch to Muay Thai because every time, and I'm not saying that you should go out and be a street fighter. Every time I got into a street fight, I was fighting like a kickboxer.
Really?
Yeah. And so I ended up wanting to try something different, and Muay Thai was where I went. And I realized then that that was more suited for me. And I think a couple of years later, I get introduced to, well, we go to a weigh-in actually. One of my friends are weighing in, and anyway, there was a guy there that somehow he didn't like me. But part of that is because, and I didn't know this until later, but at the age of 16, I started modeling, and I was, you know, doing modeling and part-time, you know, guest parts here and there for TV and whatnot, into the film. And so I never wanted to fight. And I just thought it was, there was just so much pressure of being a fighter. First of all, you're half naked on, you know, in front of millions of people. Well, at that time, it was thousands of people, right? Obviously, I didn't look past where home was. But you're in the middle of a ring with, you know, half, you know, with just a pair of shorts and boxing gloves, and there's a guy across that cage or the ring, trained just as much as you have to kick your butt. And so, you know, I wasn't that. I don't know. I didn't think, but I was so young as well. I didn't really think that was for me until this guy challenged me to a fight. 3 months later, the fight happened. I dropped him in the first round, and I won the fight. And the funny thing is, in that fight, I think the guy had 5. I think he was 5-2. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he he had won 5 fights and lost 2, something like that. And that was my first.
Wow.
And so when I walked out, it was the only time that I was booed in my life. But halfway through the fight, when I dropped him, everybody cheered. And, you know, he outweighed me by, I think, 25 pounds or something like that, maybe 30 pounds. But also because I was the new kid on the block. You know, this guy had fought before and they've seen him fight before. And he's a tough guy, right?
Like
and I think they just thought I was just this model guy, right?
Yeah.
And then I ended up winning the fight, and that was the beginning of the career of fighting and competing, and then throughout my career with my team, Lolo Himuli was our head coach, an amazing coach, who also trained so many other national champions and world champions. But you know, that's where it kind of all started, and it went from there. I had another Muay Thai coach prior to that too, was Kiyosat, who was an amazing coach as well. But Lolo pretty much was the, you know, and the team at Liga, Balmoro and City Liga was my foundation, if you will. And then, you know, just started picking up national titles, South-Pacific titles, Australasian titles, and then we fought for the world title, and you know, the rest was history. The title just started packing on.
How does it actually? I mean, you won 6-time world champion. It's not everybody that can do that, and it's also, it takes a lot of mindset, right, to win. And I mean, you know, I think it's a really different feeling to be actually physically. I mean, we will talk about entrepreneurship later on what you are doing basically now, but to be basically, you know, we usually, normal human being gets, you know, hit by life, but you also get not only hit physically, but also by basically by the consequence, therefore by life. So how does it actually feel? I mean, does it create more anger? Does it create more motivation? How does it feel?
It definitely creates your character. It definitely creates who you are. It definitely creates and prepare you. It doesn't just create, it prepares you for life. Because everything that I've done in my life, I've always reverted back to martial arts. And, you know, people had asked me about, you know, they were like, hey, you know, we want to sign your son to be a fighter. And I never want my son to be a fighter because I know what it's like. I know how tough it is. I'm not saying he's not going to be a tough man himself, but I think as a dad, you don't want your son to be put through that kind of I don't know, I don't say scrutiny, but there's just so many tests about who you are as a human being, who you are as a fighter, who you are as a man, let alone, you know, trying to survive. You know what I mean? And so there's this martial arts is definitely it will definitely test you, like right down to the core, to where you want to give up. But you know, a friend of mine who's a Hollywood actor, he was visiting Beulah, Kuala. He was visiting 2 weeks ago, and he and I talked about this winning mindset.
Yeah.
You know, about how, you know, you can overcome anything as long as you can continue to be positive. Always try to continue to look at, listen, we're all human. We all make mistakes.
Of course.
But at the same time, if your mindset is 95% positive and you can change that as you go and as you grow, you know, you're on your way and you're doing well.
So, I mean, you know, this is like something that when I've seen you fighting, I always, you know, I ask you right after, why do you have these, you know, everybody have their character, their personality, like kind of a provoking. Also, you know, your other one basically that you're fighting against. And I don't know, as a spectator, I always thought, like, what is this moment where you start like smiling? That it's like, what? Like, aren't they in a freaking fighter mode? Like, why is he so smiling? It's so frustrating. And like the other one just goes like, like. So was this like a technique? What was it? Like, what were you trying to create? You've been like famous for that.
Yeah, well, you know me. I've always been a very, you know, whatever happens with me. Like what you see is what you get, right?
Yeah.
So there are times where somebody would land a good shot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and so it's kind of like admiring that shot that he did. And then the fact that it didn't have any effect on me. So then the smile comes out and I'm like, all right, it's time to get even, right? And so that's kind of what it is.
So what was the reaction for them, like the other side? Because, you know, another thing that also was nice to see is when you know, after all the fights, usually you have a whole gathering around the different, you know, fighters. And but people, you know, some of the people can't imagine, like the viewers, some of them, I know that they couldn't imagine when I told them later, but actually you're all sort of friends, right? You all know each other and you respect each other.
That's right. And that's a big, you know, that's a massive thing about martial arts is you get taught respect.
Yeah.
And also what a lot of people don't understand is that when you're in that ring or in the cage with some of the best fighters in the world, and like the likes of the names that I mentioned, you know, Peter Ayers, Ernesto Hooch, Ronald Banner, Mike Bernardo, Andy Hook. I mean, the list goes on. Mark Hunt, you know what I mean? Sam Greco. You know, they become your friends. They've become friends because you share such an intimate part of, and you know, when I was younger, you never think that kind of action is intimate. You just think, yeah, whatever, it's fighting, right? But it really is, and I feel like they take a piece of me and I take a piece of them, and now you're brothers for life because and you know I stay in contact with Ernesto Hooch, Peter Ayers, Mark Hunt, Sam Greco, and you know a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's up. Okay, there you go. And so we still all stay in contact with each other. Just to, you know, to we check in on each other every now and then, just see how they are and things like that. And it's really nice to see. For example, Ernesto Hooch posted this thing about him and his family. You know, they're just enjoying family time and whatnot. So it's awesome to see that. I see that with Peter, also Sam Greco, and some of the others, and Mark Hunt. So it's really cool to see. But back to your original question, that respect will never ever change for us.
It's awesome. You know, I remember as at one of the after parties, we went. When I was, you know, talking to a fighter, and like, so aren't you frustrated to lose? I mean, against, you know, you lost against Ray, and he's like, I wouldn't be where I am if he wasn't there fighting me, you know? So like, you know, it feels like basically it's a game of two people, right? So
that's right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. You know, people like the guys that I've named bring out the best in you. And you might not know it at the time. But when you sit back and you analyze the situation, the fight, the way you feel, what you've learned from, like there's so much that when you sit back and just kind of analyze it, you learn so much.
Yeah.
And you know, listen, I probably wouldn't be the fighter that I am without the people like Ernesto Hooch and Peter Ayers and Mark Hunt and Sam Greco, Jerome Lebana, Mike Bernard, all these guys. You know what I mean? Andy, because they were the best of the best, and to get anybody's respect you got to face these guys. And when I faced them, it was all love and respect, but we also is that competitive edge that we all have that made the best man win. You know what I mean? We win some, we lose some. That's just part of life. That's just like I said. A lot of things that I have done in martial arts, I really can turn it into a positive in terms of life.
So moving to the entrepreneur side of things, in 2012, you told me you created PFL?
Correct. Yes, myself and partner.
Yeah. So how did that happen? I mean, how did you do a shift to your career to PFL? What was the trigger of it? Can you tell me about it?
Well, I knew, I knew that K1 was coming to an end. I knew that let me rephrase that. I had a feeling that was coming.
Yeah.
And so, just like anything, you got to read life. Just like you are in the ring, you've got to read your opponents and whatnot. And so I had a feeling something was happening, and I needed to, but I needed to, like, for me, I wanted to stay within the game.
Yeah.
Because I have so much experience and things that I can not only bring to the game on the other side, but also because I coach as well.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to start my own fight league. And so we originally started as WSOF. And then after 4 years, and we were on NBC. And when that was said and done, our team, so we had new partners come in, and our team were able to, the PFL team were able to get a deal with ESPN, who we're with right now. And ESPN is, they've been amazing. The biggest and the baddest sporting network in the world. And so to be on, and outside of that too, we're in 160 countries around the world, which is pretty amazing. But that's how it started. It started from me wanting to start my own thing, me wanting to stay within the sport when I retire. And so, just like anything, you got to do the work. And that's what we did. My team and I did, and that's where we are today.
So you basically founded it, and what does it bring you in? I mean, what's the purpose of creating that today?
Well, one is to provide opportunities for young fighters like I was when I was knocking at the door to become a K1 fighter, and that opportunity was presented to me through my hard work. So the purpose of starting my own league was to also be able to be the guy that sign a contract and hands it over to a fighter, and giving him the opportunity to to set his goals and dreams and to chase that stardom, if you will, or the American dream, or just literally just providing for his family.
Awesome.
He or her.
So, and how would you define like the concept of it? Like, basically you're in the top groups in the world to represent basically fighters. So what would be the for people that would want to enter it or be part of it, what would be the way to go to you?
Well, they can go through WSOF.com. Sorry, PFLMMA.com.
Yeah.
The first one was an old one. So it's PFLMMA.com. Yeah. You can find us on Facebook, any kind of social media you have, Twitter, Instagram.
So, message you?
Oh, they could contact me through social media as well. And And obviously for a lot of these guys, and it's funny that you said that too, because the 2022 we're creating a challenger series, which again, it gives other fighters opportunities to, number one, grow as a fighter, and number two, open a spot or earn a spot for the season as we progress.
Awesome. That's amazing. So do you actually, within the brand or the association that you create, do you also, you know, a lot of them, and I think a lot of our viewers are also fan of you, do you have any, you know, I mean, apart from training, do you have any other courses that you sell, a product that you sell that you would like for people that maybe are a fan of you and that don't know how to reach, or just simply want to be part of the community?
Absolutely. As you can see, I'm wearing a PFL t-shirt.
I know. It's right? Hard to forget.
Right. So, you know, when you go to pflmma.com, you'll find all the information that they need. Yeah. Any kind of, you know, caps, t-shirts, hoodies, all that kind of stuff. Awesome. Photographs and whatnot.
Awesome. So, talking about, you know, the difficulty to actually be an entrepreneur. I mean, was it actually, I know, you know, that there's the difficulty part of the, you know, I mean, people tend to forget, and we were talking about this the other day as well with you. Basically you self-managed yourself from the start. I mean, as you were not only a fighter athlete, but also for, you know, for the most of the world, we tend to forget that people that self-manage themselves are basically considered as entrepreneur. What do you think about that?
Listen, I was just very thankful, and I thank the good Lord every day that I was smart enough to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And of course, I also had one of my best friends and good friends, Neil Walker, who still lives in New Zealand, and he was also my guy that I would go to for advice or for or just kind of bounce things off him if it was a good idea or not. You know what I mean? And so it's I had that person, you know, and Neil, not only your brother, but he was able to help with a lot. Matter of fact, he also cornered me in so many fights as well in Japan. Yeah. And so he was also a fighter himself. So he knew, he knew about the sport. He knew what it took to kind of run that kind of business, if you will. And so, but yeah, it's one of those things where you just gotta head down and do the hard work, and the rest will fall into place.
But do you, I mean, as an athlete, did you self-manage yourself, or do you have to usually have somebody to just basically manage your schedule? I know that it depends on every person and every industry, so I just would like to know about that.
No, my schedule, I always made sure that I was always on top of that kind of stuff. I like to be hands-on all the time, just because, and I don't want to say, I just like when I get it done, I know it's done. You know, I don't want to put it on to somebody. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, I don't want to put it on to somebody and then it doesn't get done. So I'm the type of person, like, when you want something done, I get it done.
Awesome. So shifting from that, basically the fighting world yourself, and then going to the company, basically building a company to handle, you know, and to promote other fighters. I mean, how difficult was it to actually create PFL?
Honestly, again, like I said, we have such an amazing team that everybody has their hands in what needs to be done, and it just makes everyone else's job way easier. And that was definitely evident in PFL, because when it was WSOF, there were a lot of things that that was wishy-washy, and I didn't really like it. So when Don Davis and the new team came on, we had Carlos Silva, who was an amazing guy too, Pete Murray, Jim Branson, and a lot of the other people that came within the last 3 years of the company, or 4 years of the company. When everybody in your team is so passionate and love what they do, it becomes such an easy thing to run. Rules. Yeah. And so I'm just very thankful and so grateful that we have such an amazing team, and everybody's mindset is about that winning mindset. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I'm very grateful and very thankful for my team.
Awesome. So, I mean, also following up to that, when you actually created PFL, there's a lot of new company with your different associate. I mean, I know that there was a lot of challenges, but did anyone, I know that, it happens or it doesn't, or some people just don't listen to what people say, but did anybody tell you that you would fail? Or it can be also about fighting as well.
Well, it's funny you say that. First of all, I never listen to people when they say you fail, because failing, for me, is it's something that what's the word? I don't see failure. I just see lessons to be right. But it's funny you say that, because when we first started PFL, there were people in the media that said that this wasn't going to work, that it's been done before, and so there was a few criticism about the format and about us. But after our second show, the same people, and I gotta thank Luke Thomas, because he was the only one that had me on his show and said, Ray, you guys are only your second show, but it's like night and day, between PFL and WSOF and where it's going, and now here we are, 4 years later. But there were a lot of doubters.
They just don't listen.
But no, I don't listen to that. For me, it's about first of all, you gotta dream big, right?
Yeah.
You gotta be passionate.
Yeah.
Then you gotta do the work, but at the same time, you gotta be disciplined. And so, within all that, that I learned from being a martial artist and having great trainers and great people around me. And so you continue to take one step forward, one step at a time. And sure, there are times where you might have to take 2 steps back to take 6 steps forward. That's just the way life is. And so, but there was no doubt in my mind and my team's mind that the sky's the limit for us.
Fantastic. We're going to have a real quick break and then follow up with some really awesome questions and your mindset. And we're back with our legendary Ray Sefo. So Ray, let's just shoot the question that I can't wait to hear the answer, just like everybody. Are you confident?
Me? I'm always confident.
That's a finer mindset. So why are you confident?
I think a lot of that comes with the things I've done in my life, and the things I've achieved in my life. And listen, if you want anything done, you can't be sitting back and kind of like, waiting for it. You got to step up and make those moves.
Yeah.
And so I've always been that guy. I've always been the guy that speaks my mind.
Yeah.
I've always been the guy that steps up. And so throughout the years of my life, I've always been a very confident human being where I'll speak my mind. And at the same time, listen, Jim Branson, who's one of our partners at PFL, he's taught me a lot about those kind of things. I mean, about being a little patient and whatnot, and how to, and Pete as well. But yeah, you learn as you grow, and that's I guess one of the biggest thing is that you're able to learn from the mistakes and to learn from things, and to continue to grow as a human being, and just be confident in everything you do in life.
And I know that sometimes you may have, doubt about, because life, you don't always control everything by yourself. So when you have doubt or when you feel like, upset, how do you basically do the trampoline? How do you bounce back? What's your technique?
It's by staying positive. It's by looking at your life and go, this is where you're at. So why are you crying over spilled milk, right? It's like, it's like you just go, wipe it up.
Yeah.
Take another step.
Yeah.
And then take another step on top of that, and another step and another step before you know you're running again.
And did that help you doing that over the course of your life?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said earlier, sometimes you got to take 2 steps back to take 5 steps forward. But that's just life. And obviously confidence is a big thing, but at the same time, you also got to have a winning mindset so that, and the great thing about martial arts, again, when I go back to that, is that I can always see positive things throughout that growth, if you will. And so, it's about just taking the one day at a time.
One day at a time.
Put your one foot in front of the other, and before you know, you're running again.
Awesome. So if our viewers have a dream and just simply don't know how to start, which advice would you give them? Would it be the same, like one step at a time, or like which practical advice can they do today?
Well, you're not blind, deaf, and dumb. So of course you can start, right? It's about writing it down.
Okay.
And it's about, again, with me, it was my vision to start my own fight. And it took me 9 months or so to kind of put it all together. And then it was put into work, right? So
it did take you like 9 months, right? So it's also, I guess, especially in your case, you had to learn patience.
Right, exactly. That's exactly it. It's putting it on paper, and then you got, you can stand back and look at it and make adjustments and this and that and that and whatever. But that's how you get started. You can't just, think that, oh no, I can't do this. Oh no, you can't do that. I mean, if you want to do, that's the first thing it's. Listen, and everybody's different. Some people will write things down, and it takes a while to process and put it together. And then some people just goes out there and do it. And so anybody can do it. Anybody can do it.
Very confidently coming from you. So does anything in life makes you scared?
The only thing that scares me in life is my kids getting hurt.
As a father, of course. Okay. And how do you overcome that? What do you tell yourself? That's life? Like,
well, no, I always try and be a step ahead of them. Like even right now, I'm always a step ahead. If they're playing upstairs, for example, and they're running around upstairs and close to the rail, first thing I do is run up and tell them to not run around upstairs, because if you fall off, you're gonna break. So I always try and stay a step ahead of them.
Like your fighting mindset too. You just have to plan it ahead.
Right, exactly. I remember when Ramon was barely crawling and he was upstairs and he was by the stairway and boom, like right away I could see what was about to happen. And so it's always about trying to stay a step ahead of them and making sure, listen, eventually they're going to become adults, but I'm always going to be a dad to them, you know what I mean? And so even when they're adults, and it's funny though, because I talked to another friend of mine, Coach Gil Martinez, and he said, he's like, brother, you will never not be scared, because even when they're old enough to go out and, go out with their friends, you won't, he says he couldn't sleep until they were home. You know what I mean? So I'm not looking forward to that. But I'm a very strong person when it comes to everything else in life. But when it comes to my kids, I'm a wuss.
So what is your next step? What's your next dream?
To conquer the world, Pinky.
haven't changed in all those years.
Exactly. Obviously for us is just continuing to grow PFL. And obviously providing opportunities for young fighters. And provide a platform that people can enjoy and see some of the best fights and some of the best fighters in the world do their thing.
And I'm sure that will inspire a lot of people as well, not just fighters, but always seeing people with their mentality and just moving forward. It's always inspiring for everybody.
Absolutely.
What's your secret? You constantly, I know that every time you're upset, I remember you're like, whatever, and then you just keep smiling. So what's your secret of smiling?
Well, and that's just it. It's about listen, I thank the good Lord every day that I have the life that I have, just being grateful, I think, and being thankful for where I am today, because I remember when I was a kid, 15 years old, asking myself this question, Ray, what are you going to do with your life? And then when I go even younger, I remember at 9 years old, telling myself that I would never touch alcohol, drugs, anything like that would ruin my life. And my whole life now, I've tasted alcohol here and there. Like when I say taste, me, because all my friends were trying to make me drink, not for bad reasons, but just so that I could be part of what was happening at the time. And but at the end of the day, it's I'm just very grateful and very thankful that I have great people around me. I have the job that I have. I have two amazing kids in my life. And so I'm a happy man.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. And finally, what are the 3 most important words for you to realize your dream that could help others?
You gotta be prepared to do the hard work.
So be prepared. Okay.
Yep. Hard work, right? You gotta be passionate about what you do.
Passionate, yeah.
And then you gotta be disciplined to stay on the course. And the rest is history.
Awesome. Well, Ray, this was like really outstandingly amazing. And I really want to thank you for it. And I can't wait to actually finally see you after 11 years, hopefully when this whole, COVID situation is much easier. Now it's slightly opening doors to doors. And at the end, we actually have a very nice surprise for you. So if you really like the show, we thank you first of all for watching. We thank you to subscribe on the show right below and click the button. And also comment us. Ray will be asking you a question. And for all of you who actually managed to answer right in our comments, one of the person will be drawn basically as a lucky draw and will actually win an amazing gift. And do you want to announce the gift, Ray, first before you ask the question?
Yeah. You'll win 2 tickets to the PFL season when it starts in 2020-22.
Wow. 2 tickets to the PFL, to the show. Fantastic.
To the show. Yep.
Awesome. You can go with friends, with your partner, and just enjoy the ride. So to win those tickets, what you have to do is basically answer Ray's question. What is it, Ray?
What are you passionate about?
Ooh, is that actually a question? Is there any answer? Is it about your passion or their passion?
Their passion.
Their passion? Okay,
yeah.
Awesome. So basically, Ray will be picking up the most inspiring answer. So hopefully you win this. And thank you so much, Ray, for being amazing, for inspiring the rest of the world always. And just stay positive. I learned so much from you every time, I hear you. And then we will be shortly introducing our next entrepreneur, Olivier Roland. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ray, and see you soon. Thank you so much for waking up. Well, I like this time jet lag thing was kind of funny, but I had so much fun listening to you. Thank you so much. Kisses to the family and love you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.